All right, I turned 46 today, which is not exactly young, but 15 months ago, I was obese, I was depressed, and I was pretty sick. And I kind of looked like Jack Black, although he looked way happier than me. And now I look like this, pretty jacked. And the aim is to end up looking like King Leonidas, all right? But this video isn't about just getting jacked, but about how I improved my overall health. Because 15 months ago, I was clinically depressed. I had arthritis so bad that I had problems going down the stairs, and now I can squat heavy again. I had psoriasis in my finger, which is an autoimmune skin issue similar to eczema, and that went away. I was obese with high blood pressure, and even my hair color had turned white. And a lot of that hair color has come back, and I look 20 years younger than I did 15 months ago. So yesterday, somebody told me that because I live in Taiwan, that I am not legally allowed to talk about any treatments for any diseases other than using pharmaceuticals, which means that the pharmaceutical industry in Taiwan has a monopoly over free speech regarding medical treatments, which will be interesting because Robert Kennedy Jr. is about to take over the helm of the Department of Health and Human Services in the US, and he's going to be running government policy regarding nutrition and medical research, and he's going to be pushing for basically preventive and holistic medicine and using methods other than relying on pharmaceuticals to treat diseases, okay, using other supplements and stuff like that. So I'm not allowed to talk about things that I think are treatments for diseases, even if I cite studies, but I can talk about my own personal stories. So if I say that I ate dog poo and that made my testosterone levels double, that is totally legal, all right? Although that is not what I did, but my testosterone levels did double from 500 15 months ago, which was surprisingly high considering how sick I was, to just over 1,000 recently. And there are 7 things that I did to basically improve my testosterone levels, but also to reverse all of my own illnesses. The first thing I did was 15 months ago, I tried the carnivore diet. My friend told me to try it out, and that's all meat, eggs, and dairy. And very quickly, my depression went away, my arthritis got better, and my psoriasis went away. And there's several mechanisms behind why that happened. But basically, a lot of people are actually eating micronutrient deficient diets. They're not getting enough micronutrients. So for example, a lot of the gym bros in gym forums that I follow complain that they have low testosterone levels, but that's because they're following dietary templates from pro bodybuilders who are taking steroids and don't need to produce their natural testosterone. So they're eating things like chicken breasts, ground turkey, and egg whites, and they don't realize that meats such as beef and the egg yolk in eggs are very high in micronutrients, and things like zinc is a precursor to testosterone, and having high levels of dietary fat and cholesterol is very important, not only for the testosterone production, but for brain health, all right? Which is probably the reason why my depression got better, because I wasn't getting enough micronutrients to basically produce the serotonin, which is important for healthy mood. And the second thing I did, which is basically linked to the carnivore diet, is that I cut out a lot of the unhealthy foods, the ultra-processed foods, which are man-made foods that are now making up 70% of the supermarket aisles. And I also basically decreased my carbohydrate intake. So for example, there's a mechanism called glycation, which is when sugars in the blood stick to the collagen in our body and make them brittle, and that's what is one of the mechanisms causing arthritis, which is why my arthritis got better, and inflammation and insulin resistance also are caused by people who eat a lot of carbohydrates all the time over many, many years, all right? Although I know a lot of the gym bros will say carbs are important for their training, but that's because they're doing a lot of exercises and it kind of counteracts a lot of the blood sugar spikes that that the gym goers are getting. But people sitting in the office, when they're eating a lot of carbohydrates, it just goes straight into being body fat, all right? And as a result of that, my exercise improved a lot, okay? So I was already exercising and trying to lose weight, but as soon as I jumped on the carnivore diet, my exercise improved because, again, I had high testosterone levels. Like within a month, my testosterone went from 500 to 720. And as I slowly increased my red meat and egg intake over the last 15 months, it's gone up even higher. So now I eat about 600 grams of beef and lamb a day, which is like almost a pound and a half of red meats. And now my testosterone level is at 100. But I was doing, compound movements, which are exercises that involve a lot of muscle groups, and like bench press, squats, and deadlifts. And resistance training is very important for human health because the amount of muscle mass a person has is actually correlated to lifespan, because as you get older, if you lose a lot of muscle mass, then not only will your longevity go down, but your health span will go down, your ability to move will go down, all right? Old people who don't exercise will get what is called sarcopenia, when their muscles basically waste away. And people who do resistance training can counteract that. And the second form of exercise that I was doing is basically high intensity interval training, and sprinting is very good. And that was to basically improve my VO2 max. VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen that is supplied to the body. And that decreases over time as a person ages as well. And if a person doesn't work on improving their VO2 max, then the amount of oxygen they get to their organs and to their brain decreases over time. And that means decreasing organ and brain function as a person ages, all right? But I want to add that I know in a lot of the gym forums that a lot of the gym bros are using steroids, all right? So that is definitely not good for health, because it enlarges the heart and it increases blood pressure and hardening of the arteries. So it's not just about looking jacked. If a person wants to be healthy, then they should do it naturally, okay? So in terms of lifestyle, I also, as a result of eating a carnivore diet, my sleep improved. So I was able to sleep better, and I actively work on going to bed early. So I'm generally asleep by 10 p.m. Right now I'm filming a video in like early morning. So I get up very early in the morning. And the reason for that is that sleep between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. is actually much better quality sleep than sleeping later at night. And sleep is very important for, not only regenerating the body, but also the brain, all right? I actively work on reducing my stress levels. So before, I was trading stocks in the middle of the night because I live in Asia, and I was trading stocks and futures, which is kind of like being in the casino all the time. Making money will get a person a high, but losing money will create stress. And stress is linked to the stress hormone cortisol, and cortisol is only meant to be elevated earlier on in the morning. If a person has chronically elevated cortisol levels, it is very, very unhealthy. It will age a person, which is why my hair color went white. And it also causes a bunch of health issues. Cortisol is only meant to be the hormone that you only get when somebody's trying to mug you, or a tiger's chasing after you, because along with adrenaline, it is the hormone linked to the fight or flight response. All right. So a good way of lowering cortisol levels is basically to not work so hard. All right. That's a novel concept, to make less money. But a person can actively learn meditation or practice deep breathing techniques, such as a sharp inhale, but a very slow exhale, and do 10 repetitions of that will actively actually lower stress levels. And then in terms of lifestyle as well, I introduced controlled stresses to my body. Okay, so like taking a cold plunge will cause the body to release what are called cold shock proteins, and going in the sauna will produce heat shock proteins. Basically, the human body isn't designed to just be in an uncomfortable environment all the time, but having a controlled amount of short-term stress causes the body to become stronger. And plus, I get a lot of sunlight all the time now because I walk my dog topless, so everyone in the neighborhood thinks I'm the local neighborhood weirdo, all right? But yeah, getting lots of sunlight is very important to overall health. And the last lifestyle change that I did is basically, but I only introduced that recently, and that's probably a reason for why my testosterone levels started climbing even more, is I started to remove as many of the chemicals out of my life as possible. So basically, if a person cooks with a non-stick frying pan, they have a chemical in it called PFAS, okay? That's the abbreviation. And these are forever chemicals that cannot be broken down and highly toxic to the human body and can cause cancer. And non-stick frying pans, you can get micro scratches on them that you can't even see, and there's leaking chemicals into the food. I use a plastic, used to use a plastic spatula, under heat, the plastics on those spatulas basically go into the food. So I've changed to stainless steel frying pan and metal spatula. I try to wear synthetic clothing as little as possible. This is a synthetic material. I try to wear cotton material nowadays. I try to eliminate all the plastic in my life. So I no longer drink from plastic bottles. I use a metal flask. Also, the inside of soda cans actually has a plastic inner lining. And also, there's a plastic inner lining to the paper cups that you get from coffee shops. So I avoid all of that, and I use a metal flask for my coffee as well. And on top of that, I also now use body wash and fragrances with essential oils, rather than using stuff with a lot of chemicals in them, which are endocrine disruptors, and basically they affect hormones. And all of these chemicals basically that we've introduced in the last 50 years is what has basically increased cancer rates, along with all the pesticides and herbicides which are being sprayed on crops. So even though people have reduced, the amount of smokers have gone down, cancer rates are up by more than 200% in developed countries, and 400% in the US, right? So in the US, 38% of Americans will get cancer in their lifetime, and it is 20% for people under 50. That's probably why a lot of people also experience better health when they're on the carnivore diet, because they're eliminating crops, plants which have been sprayed with pesticides and the herbicide glyphosate, which is a known carcinogen, because Monsanto and Bayer have been sued for $11 billion successfully for causing cancer. And yet that stuff is still being sprayed on crops. So a lot of my friends trying to get healthy, they're telling people to go and eat more fruits and vegetables, but what they're not taking into account is that they're also consuming a lot of the herbicides and pesticides being sprayed, all right? So if a person is gonna eat plant-based, then they should grow their own vegetables and fruits, or just definitely make sure it's a very reliable organic source, all right? So those are the 7 things that I've done in the last year, and my health has significantly improved. And I strongly advise all of my friends to try and consistently pursue the same lifestyle, all right? I know a lot of people still want to, have some pleasures in their life, okay? Ultra processed foods are basically like edible drugs, all right? And lots of people like, drinking alcohol. So I still sometimes snack on ultra processed foods, but very, very rarely, okay? I consider them like edible drugs. And when I'm out with friends or I'm on holiday, I will drink alcohol. But it is very, very rare. I've really cut down a lot. And it's very important to basically reduce it as much as possible. And I'm talking about basically living healthy for the rest of my life, hopefully. From the mid 40s, a person will only live another 40 years on average. But a person who doesn't take care of themselves are going to start getting health problems in their 60s. So the difference between being healthy starting in the 40s is like double the amount of time that a person is healthy, right? So a person can make a conscious choice to be healthy for another 20 years or to be healthy for another 40 years, all right? So anyway, that's my story. And everyone else can make their own decision on what they want to do, whether they believe any of the things that I did really improved my health. They can always Google the key points that I put down in the video and go and do their own research. I always try to recommend that people who watch my videos go and do their own research on top of the video, all right? So remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And the next video, I'm going to be talking about fasting, which is also another thing that I feel was significantly improving my health, all right? Because not only does it decrease calorie intake, but it promotes something called autophagy, which is a mechanism that can be used to reduce cancer risk.